right? Keisha Hudson, the head of the Philadelphia Defenders Association. Keisha, how are you this morning?
I'm great. Good morning. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Keisha, tell us why voting is important in your world. Please tell the people why voting is important in your world. You're down there on the front line defending people's justice, defending people's rights on a day-to-day basis. You and the whole crew. Talk to the people, please, why voting is important. Please, Keisha.
Happy to, and thank you for having me on this morning. So I'm the Chief Defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia. Our lawyers are in court in the First Judicial District every single day, representing children and adults who have been arrested and charged with criminal offenses. And judges are critical because we appear before them every day and they make the decision. If it's a judge-only trial, they make the decision about guilt, whether our client is innocent or guilty, and they sentence. If it is a jury trial, the jury makes that decision whether or not our client is innocent or guilty, but the judge sentences. So they have incredible power.
So one of the things in the work that I do every day, Keisha, and it's amazing to meet you, your work is so important, is talking to community members. And so often they're telling us that they didn't know that they had the right to vote. They didn't know why it was so important to vote. And they didn't understand that voting had connection to the court system. I would just love to hear from you a little bit about why you think that courts are a really pivotal reason for folks to actually be casting their ballots this November.
It is critical, and we have a number of statewide races, judicial races this year. We have a seat that's open on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which is the highest court in Pennsylvania. We have two judicial seats open on the Superior Court. We have openings on the Commonwealth Court, and we talked about the Commonwealth Court in your prior segment that made that pivotal decision about education funding in the state of Pennsylvania and found that the funding was unconstitutional. That was a massive decision and an important decision. Then you have your local judicial races. For those who are listening from Philadelphia, the best place to go to is the Philadelphia Bar Association, which will list the judges that are running for the Court of Common Pleas and for municipal courts. It's a great place to find out who they are and do your research and find out whether or not this is a judge that you want to sit on the bench, to wear that black robe, to dispense justice in a fair and impartial way. And a lot of people don't understand how critical our judges are unless you go through the system, unless you have a family member who goes through the system. And I hear constantly from people once they see what happens in courtrooms day in and day out, they are very concerned about what they see in the halls of justice. And so I would urge people to do your research. There are judicial races coming up. The Philadelphia Bar Association will list the names of the judges. One important thing to note, judges are elected every 10 years. They serve a 10-year term, but then they run for retention and they run unopposed. And there are judges who are running for retention this year. And you get to decide whether or not that judge gets to keep their seat for another 10 years. And so it's not just judges running for the first time. There are judges who, once elected, they run every 10 years, they run unopposed. And a lot of voters tend to go down the ballot and you see one name. And the question is whether or not the judge should be retained. And a lot of people will just click yes without really having the understanding that you are electing this judge to sit for another 10 years without a critical understanding. Well, how does this judge rule? How is this judge's judicial temperament? What have been their past decisions? Have there been any judicial conduct investigations regarding this judge? And so I would urge voters to really do your research because these judges do matter.
And is that information available on the Philadelphia Defenders website?
It is not available on our website. We cannot endorse. So I will not be doing any endorsements during this segment. But I do not want to call from the board.
Nope.
So, but you can go to Philadelphia Bar Association, and they have the Bar Association serves a critical role. We actually have a judicial commission, and judges who are running, whether for the first time or running for retention, get to appear before that commission. There is an exhaustive investigation that is done, and then the Bar Association votes whether to recommend um, or not recommend that judge for election and or for retention. So they have a wealth of information, and people can go there for the local races. Um, for the statewide races, Pennsylvania Decides.com is a really great resource. They will tell you the names of the judges running for Supreme Court, Superior Court, and Commonwealth Court. And then we'll tell you how those judges come out on really important issues, for example, Roe v. Wade. And again, with some simple research, you can find out all the information you need to find out about the judges who are running statewide and in the local elections.
I've got to add this, Keisha, just, excuse me, I'm sorry, to make sure we go back into our short memory, right? Short memory. You know, the last couple of years, the 2020 election was decided in many respects as there were folks who were trying to overthrow democracy. There were many aspects to that, and most of those issues wound up in state court, not just federal court, but most of those issues wound up in state court, state Supreme Court, state Commonwealth Court. And those individuals had the decision-making capacity and really, in the end, wound up defending democracy. And these are folks who we get the chance to vote for. We get the chance to decide who those individuals are. The right to vote, the right for women to control their own bodies. All kinds of stuff like that is decided by the legal mind and legal interpretations decided by the law by these individuals on these courts who we determine. Now, let me make it even more plain. Okay. When you get down to the city judges, okay, where you find Keisha and them, okay, and her crew, all right, defending everybody. All right. That's like the day-to-day thing. Okay. You're guilty. You're not. Okay. That kind of thing. I mean, Keisha, once again, speak to what that means. This day-to-day kind of thing is very real.
It is. And the Defender Association represents around 70% of adults who come through the criminal justice system, close to 80% of children who come through the juvenile justice system. So we represent the majority of people who come before the judges each and every day. Just to give you a data point, last year, our defenders appeared in almost 250,000 court appearances. 250,000 times that we were before the courts, whether it was the very first lifting of the case all the way through when our clients have been sentenced. And so we are, I think, the experts. You can stop any defender on the street and say, tell me about X judge. What is that judge like? What is their temperament? Are they pro-police? Are they pro the state? Are you going to be able to get a fair trial before this judge? Are they going to be impartial? Is this a judge who you can appear before and expect that you are going to get your day in court, and at the end of the day, justice will be served? And we can tell you about each and every one of the judges that we appear before. One thing that I think we need funding for organizations like Pennsylvania for Modern Courts is really to have court watch programs. Mm-hmm. A lot of what goes on in the courts, a lot of the people sitting there are family members and friends and loved ones, and our clients, of course, sitting at the table with their defender. And not a lot of people from the general public who are there to say, I sat day after day and I observed this judge, and here's my opinion, and here are my concerns. Or this was an excellent forum. This judge was fair and impartial. They had, they had a good temperament. So we don't have robust court watch programs. And we need that. We need people of the general public to sit in any courtroom at the Criminal Justice Center or at family court and watch what happens. And I think with that level of accountability, we would expect then judges to rise to the occasion that fits that black robe.
Voting matters. Voting matters. And we can't emphasize it enough, that your work is fundamental. In many respects, is the first door to justice, Keisha, that you and your team do on a daily basis. And voting is relevant, whether your lawyers and your clients are treated with respect inside the courtroom, whether their voices are heard inside the courtroom, depends upon people who we vote for. And we've got to make sure that message continues to go out on a daily basis, so that people understand how valuable and how necessary their participation in this process goes. We're going to finish up with Keisha. Shall you got any more you want to ask Keisha? She's the boss.
Just have you planned how you're going to be able to make sure that you're voting between all your court cases and really important work on Election Day?
I wish we could close the office. I do, but the rule is that if the courts are open, the public defender's office is open. So we will be working. Thankfully, polls open at 7, close at 8 p.m. And we'll make every effort. Last year, I told everyone, once your court assignment is done, once you're finished up at the jail, seeing clients, go home and please make every effort to vote. Some of our lawyers can be in court as late as 5 or 6 p.m. Yeah. So that is an issue. That is an issue I think we have to address, making that a holiday so that everyone can have the time that they need to get to the polls. But I will make every effort to accommodate my team so that they get to do that.
Amen, amen. And don't forget that we also have vote by mail in Pennsylvania. And so if you and your folks can actually vote on Election Day, it is one of the best ways to be able to vote at your convenience prior to Election Day. And so maybe you can take that stress off of yourself a little bit.
Yes, that's a great point.
Big
and I would be remiss in not thanking Senator Hughes for his staunch advocacy in getting funding for public defense in Pennsylvania, and always being a strong advocate for funding for our office here in Philadelphia. And just shout out to any public defenders who are listening.
Well, we know how important you are. Like I said, you're the first door to justice for so many people, and the fact that you don't have the resources that you deserve to have is something we're going to continue to fight for. We are very close to making that happen. We just got to get it done. But guess who makes those decisions? In Harrisburg, by elected officials who the people vote for. And we're very close to making that decision. Before you go, Keisha, big shout out, I think we got to do to Governor Shapiro for making this most recent decision around when you get your driver's license, when you engage in PennDOT, you're automatically registered to vote. Big shout out to the governor, and want to say, for my vantage point personally, and why advocacy is important. Coming back from the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, Selma, Alabama, I think it was about the state of Washington or the state of Oregon, who instituted an automatic voter registration process. And we introduced that bill here in Pennsylvania so that any engagement with state government, you are automatically registered to vote. Any engagement with state government. It's been hanging around for a number of years now. We got the first part of that done when Governor Shapiro made his decision by executive order. Voting matters. Voting matters. And we're already seeing an uptake in voter registration. So, this thing matters. Who's in office matters. This election coming up the first Tuesday of December matters. Important website that Keisha put out there, PhiladelphiaBar.org, PhiladelphiaBar.org, PennsylvaniaDecides.com, PennsylvaniaDecides.com. And of course, vote.pa.gov if you want to check on your own voter registration, or if you want to get yourself right, or if you want to find out where you vote. And of course, I know someone here in the studio who has a website that she wants to put out too. What would that website be?
PAvoice.org, PAvoice.org, PAvoice.org.
There you go. 3 times, Keisha. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you.